Hello there, hope you can hear me. It's Josh here from racingtoprofit.co.uk. I am off to the races this evening to Newmarket. The band the Wombats are playing after, so me and a few friends are going to go along. Rather disappointingly, it's a bit of a naff card, as you can see. Well, certainly in the sense of the number of runners per race: 6, 5, 11, 4, 5, and 3 in a 0 to 90 Class 3 handicap. Flat racing in particular has some problems at the moment, whether or not the sports powers that be can get their heads together and actually work out a way forward. Time will tell, but it's getting a bit desperate at times with field sizes, certainly in the next few days, and in some quite decent races as well. Anyway, that's a discussion for another day. I am going to whiz through the card. I'm, as always, in the excellent Gigi's Gold. And I'm going to try and say something useful as always. If you want me to speed up and I'm not talking fast enough for you, do click this settings cog in the bottom right hand corner. If you're watching on YouTube, and increase the playback speed. If you want to get notified when future videos like this drop into my YouTube channel, just hit the subscribe button down below. Also, as always, I'm going to try and say something that's useful that you can note down if you like trainer angles, trainer jockey combos, whatever other bits and pieces, hot trainers in currently in decent form, etc. Do watch with a notepad if you wish, and I will say something which is useful for the future. As always, even if every horse I touch on falls out the back of the TV, as always, a normal caveat's doing us through the card. I'm actually half decent at them. I normally land on 2 or 3 winners. You normally need 2 to break even or go into profit. Certainly with a 7 race card, we've got 6 today. We shall see. Occasionally, of course, I do have a complete blowout, but that's why I try and say something which is interesting in the wider scheme of your approach to horse racing more generally. What should I do to start with? Let me just run through the horses my pins have landed on, I suppose, and I'll go back through the races. In the first is Phillies novice stakes. I like Thunderstar at kind of 6 to 7 to 1. That's in race 1. In race 2, oh goodness, the selling stakes. I don't really like anything here. I'm going to have a trackside couple of quid on City of Aliaa, or however we pronounce that, of Darrell Holland's, about 14, 16 to 1. Not confident at all. One of the top 2 will probably take that. A quite woeful race, and if your horse is tailing off in that particular contest, sadly, being a racehorse probably isn't for them. Then we have a newcomer Maiden Stakes, all unraced. Some decent yards represented, all of them fairly well bred, having had a flick through. My pins have landed on Blueflagflyinghigh around 12 to 1, and Opera Ghost at around 7 to 8 to 1. They're the 2 I'll have on side, but of course it's hard to be confident in a race like this. The market may well tell us plenty as the day goes on and as the race gets nearer. 4-runner handicap here, a shame, Class 2, 13.5 grand to the winner. I'm going to take a chance with the John Thady Gosden Law of the Sea at around 4 to 1. I'll come back and talk about that in a moment. We're then on to a 5-runner, Class 5, 4,000 to the winner, my word. 1 and a bit months training fees, nearly 2 if your horse is based in Newmarket, but not quite. Yes, Lady Rayburn, 9 to 2. If I have a stronger fancy on the card, maybe it is her stepping up to 7 furlongs for the first time. But of course may not stay. But she's the one for me in that particular race. And in the last, a 3-runner, Class 3, Prontissimo, I think. The market, my guide, outside of the field at the moment, around 11 to 4. But I'll touch on that one and why as well. So, there where my through the card pins have landed. I'm not going to be betting masses. I can't say I'm overly confident, and of course with these small runner fields they can be tactical affairs, and the jockeys can be as important as the horses, so we'll see how they play out. What do I want to say about this? Well, a 2-year-old fillies novice stakes, of course, probably far away from my race analysis and tipping race of choice, being 3 mile and further. Handicap chases, Class 3 and above. October can't come soon enough, but it will soon rattle round and the proper stuff will start again. there is York's Ebor meeting to look forward to actually, which is enjoyable. Before my mind switches to the flat, but yeah, when looking at races like this, it's just a challenge, of course. 2-year-old fillies, some of them may get out the stables and not feeling up for it today. Um, some of them may be on end up coming on heat, and you can't really tell until after they've disappointed. They can tend to get more worked up occasionally than the colts, but there may be and geldings, and maybe nothing in that. I didn't really think too much to the the other three, I should say, that had already had a run. But of course, they're all on second start. Richard Hannon's here, Ed Walker's here, could take massive step forwards, but too much guessing for me at the odds. Ed Walker's not in the best of form, okay form. The last 14 days, only 1 from 28, so I suppose that would temper some enthusiasm around 3-1. He's also horses making their second career start. He has winners, but they're not exactly prolific. So again, not too many take massive strides forward from their first start. So again, I can't say I'm overly enthusiastic to dive in. Percentage of rivals beaten, uh, pretty similar there, 0.54. That's consistent the last 30 days, so maybe the horses aren't kind of out of form in that regard. But anyway, yes, has been a drop off in the last 2 weeks. Carl Burke's Unraced Lady Hamana's up there. Maybe the market will be a guide on that. Is currently in favour, I think, 9-4 or so, but too much guesswork sat at home without knowing how she's been training and aligned to the yard, I suppose. Roger Varians. He's done all right with his first time. 2-year-olds, these stats will cover both the Newmarket courses, I think, or they used to within GG's. Not much to say here. Variants are going along okay, but again, not prolific. The trainer jockey combo, actually, I suppose I did want to highlight in the last year, Roger Varian, Jack Mitchell, some solid stats down here. So that is a trainer jockey combo to note. Let me just click on the GG's full form, click on the trainer. I can dig into all the kinds of different things. If I click on the jockey, if you have GGs or you use GGs, when you do this, if you click on the jockey, if the trainer has more than one runner in the race, you can obviously just double check you've got the right horse here. I can obviously change horse within this up here of those running. You can see the record there. If I click on non-handicaps, don't do too bad. They've actually do better on the all-weather. I don't know if that's because of how Jack rides, and he maybe rides some of these all-weather courses a bit better. I'm not sure. If I just look in the last 2 years, you can see Jack's record there. Solid enough on the flat turf. Plenty of them get well backed. Seems to be a bit more juice in the market on the all-weather runners, but of course, without diving into these stats in too much depth, there may be the odd biggie there, but certainly nothing to worry about there. I can click on the age stats again. They're profitable with the 2-year-olds. I can click on handicap stats. So, for diving into different angles, again, you can see the record on the all-weather there. So, Roger Ver and Jack Mitchell, certainly a trainer-jockey combo to keep an eye on. Have had a last good couple of years, even more so on the all-weather. But that's just something you may wish to note. Richard Hannon's anything useful to say here? I don't think so. Hard to get a grip on this form. Second time out may take a big step forward, but Thunder Star, let me click on her. One at Haydock, 5 furlong, good to soft. First career start, 18-1. Clearly unfancy, but showed a very good attitude there. Outpace, stayed on. York, 5 furlongs, good to firm. Just seemed to find that all a bit too quick. Got outpaced from a fair way out. But I do want to say she has a rating of 75, an official rating of 75 already. The Platinum Queen came into this rated 85. This was a higher class race. Has already then bolted up at Goodwood in a good race for 2-year-olds. Clearly a half decent horse, and then the only other one to have run since behind Can to Can also bolted up at Pontefract. So there is some depth here. So in terms of for hot form and how this race may work out moving forward, you may want to note down the Carl Burke horse here. Pause the video if you want. You may want to note down the Grand Tour horse here. Here's Thunder Star. Can to Can's already won. Even some of these horses down here might end up doing quite well and might be worth keeping an eye on, especially let's say when they move into nurseries, handicaps for 2-year-olds. So there are there's something to take away there from in terms of how this race worked out. Clearly some very good horses in this race, in this fillies race, some very good fillies. Thunderstar drops 2 classes here. I think she's going to find this much easier, lower class opposition. She's going to face nothing like what some of those horses, certainly the winner, has done in that. And she was outpaced, and she did stay on well enough. So in that context, down in class, I did also like the step up to 6 furlong. Connections clearly don't think that good to firm ground is a problem. She did waver under pressure there a bit, a couple of furlongs out. I did wonder if that was because she was feeling the ground, so I'm not sure, but I'm going to trust Connections here on running her on this ground. I say that because obviously her first career start and win was with a bit of juice in the ground. Maybe as the autumn rolls along, that might see her in a better light. I'm not sure, but what was it, 6 to 7 to 1? I thought that offered a bit of value, really. Holly Doyle in the play, always a jockey upgrade. Although Lewis Edmonds is decent, but Holly is a jockey upgrade on most. She's clearly riding with confidence, riding well. Trainer jockey combo 1 from 2. That might be a small positive. Obviously, she carries a £6 penalty for having won. She'd have to be half decent to give that away. But like I said, I'm not blown away as yet by what the 3 with race course experience have done. Of course, one of these 2 for Varian or Burke may be half decent, but yeah, for those reasons, how that race ran out, down in class, up in trip, doing something different as a reason for why she may step forward again. Down in class, up to 6 furlongs, already shown she can win and has a winning attitude, which may count for plenty. Holly Doyle's worth a few pounds as well. So yeah, she was the one for me. Interesting if they put her experience to good use, whether Holly might now send her further forward and they might ride her as if she is going to stay and try and negate that getting outpaced and running on again. So that might be interesting. But that's clearly long enough. On a 2-year-old race there. Sorry, throat's a bit croaky. My goodness, selling states, no real strong views. Could you follow the market? Just a woeful contest. I don't need to spend much time on here. I'm not sure if there's any stats or anything to highlight. Ed Dunlop, Holly Doyle, been in form in the last month, 2 from 5, 3 places. He has been booking her plenty, so maybe something significant there. But Martha's Moment and Charlie and Mark Johnson's horse here are kind of even money in a quite woeful race, so I won't be touching them. I will literally have £2, maybe £5 if I'm brave trackside, but that feels like a waste of money, but we shall see. On the Darrell Holland filly here, just because first-time cheek pieces may make some kind of difference, that they would need to have some kind of transformative effect. I watched the last race, didn't travel too badly there, and obviously these Newmarket novice and maiden races tend to be fairly deep. I suspect this isn't anywhere as deep as that race. I thought she sent off 150 to 1 as well. I thought she travelled well for quite a way into the race, and then the others started to pull away, but she kept on well enough. Liam Wright is a jockey, not related, I will add. Trainer jockey combo have done okay. He's done okay. He clearly can ride okay. 3 from 25, 10 place in the last 30 days, although wouldn't be the most stylish in the saddle yet, but he is a £7 claimer. But maybe those cheap pieces and what is a drop in class really may make some difference into this selling race at what was 14, 16 to 1. Maybe she'll get the hang of things as her racing career progresses, but clearly not a race to have a strong view on at all. Maybe Twinkle Twilight might cause a surprise, but Gay Kellaway is 1 from 51 at the Newmarket courses. Wouldn't fill you with too much confidence and hasn't really done much. Is up a furlong in distance, so maybe it's a reason for doing something else. Did run in the cellar last time else, but was tanked, was beaten. Not really for me. So anyway, Darrell Holland's not really a confident pick. And we move on to the newcomers Maiden Stakes. It's hard to really be overly confident with anything in this as well. I suppose the thing to highlight is trainer form. Unsurprisingly, I mean, I don't know what Charlie Appleby feeds them, but clearly he does get the best of the crop, or seems to be, with the Godolphin horses. They're very well bred. He has very good horses to work with. He has very good jockeys to work with. The facilities are world leading. So yeah, but just, I mean, the last 30 days, 13, 33, 21, 43% strike rate is 12% ahead the yearly. I mean, to keep keep up a 31%. Strike rate is mad, I suppose. 70% of rivals beaten, 82%. Most of them are finishing nearer the front than nearer the back in their races, whatever the field size. Which is why that kind of little figure is good, I suppose. So yes, just very good stats. Clearly got two in this. James Doyle, Jack Mitchell, but yard in form. The market may guide as I speak. As I flick over to Odds Checker, Thunderstar has been nibbled at. I don't think that was from me posting on the members post, but probably not a surprise. I did think 6-7-1 was a bit too big. City of Aliaa has been nibbled at as well, but clearly the top two do bring the best form into the race, but I can't really touch them. Local Dynasty hovering 2-1, 9-4. City of Kings has been weak. The late market, the late money, last 20 minutes may tell. Will one of these two be smashed in? The fact they're not, either's not overly strong at this point in time. Let's say Local Dynasty isn't like 6-4, 5-4, makes me think they may be beatable. We shall see. Opera Ghost, Blueflagflyinghigh, I will touch on. That's the next two. So I've touched on their trainer form. James Fanshawe is in form. That's just worth noting more generally. 4 from 11, 6 places the last 14 days, 5 from 21 the last 30 days. So that's certainly worth noting. What entries has he got coming up? You can see those there. Haydock tomorrow, then a couple on the 7th possibly. I suppose you can always look at those that are kind of multiple entries and so on and so forth, but the yard are in form, so the next couple of weeks that might be worth keeping an eye on. James Fanshawe, the last 2 years, is only 2 from 58 with his horses having their first career start. That for me is enough to put me off, whatever the odds. Of course, if they do win on their first start, I may suggest they are half decent, but the yard are in form, so if he's going to have a first start winner, maybe it is more likely when the yard are flying. Doesn't do that well at the Newmarket courses either. It's local. They don't have to travel far. Maybe here for some experience and won't be fit enough. Possibly. John and Thady Gosden are in form. 11 from 35, 15 places. They really are getting going now. Very slow start in the early part of the season, but no problems on that front at the moment. You can see their record with first-time out 2-year-olds in the last 2 years. Well, these will be the stats since the trainer became a joint license. Yeah. First starters, obviously, if they want to get them fit, they can get them fit. If they've got the horse, they can be ready. Again, the market may guide. A bit weak, was kind of 3-1 this morning. Now it's kind of 7-2. It'll be interesting what the market does through the day there. No massive shock. Richard Hannon and Sean Levy are 3 from 15, 8 places in the last 14 days. A couple of those were at the Racing League meeting at Doncaster, so that might be something that Richard Hannon has targeted with some of his horses given the prize money. Wouldn't be a surprise, so that might be something to keep an eye on, the Hannon and Levy combination in that moving forwards. Jane Chapel Hyam, I will touch on now. I suppose Opera Ghost was one of the reasons, and I suppose it was these report angles which lured me in at what is about 8-1. Hopefully the market may guide and there may be positive signs, but trainer jockey combo, Jane Chapel Hyam and Adam Kirby in the last year, 5 from 24, 11 places plus 12, decent figures. A trainer jockey combo to note. Jane Chapel Hyam in the last year with her first time out 2-year-olds, 4 from 15, 7 places plus 34. That was a positive for the type of yard they are. It wouldn't be massive, but probably lean towards more quality than quality over quantity. Well, I'm not, in fairness, I say that without knowing the size of the string. But when they get a half decent one, they can clearly ready them. Those stats lured me in at the odds, and given some of the weakness with the others, that you'd expect them to maybe be a bit stronger, the Appleby horse in particular, and possibly the John Thady Gosden, but those three may well be fighting it out. Wouldn't be the first time Appleby has a 1-2 in a Newmarket Maiden this season. But this horse, this colt out of Camelot, I suppose not known for the shorter distances, but I did find it interesting that this one is a brother to a 1 mile winner, including as a 2-year-old, half brother to 2-year-old winners. So some of his relatives have been precocious enough. I suppose I saw that as a positive. So they can clearly be readied a bit earlier. The breeding looks half decent. Adam Kirby's here. I thought Opera Ghost, just for those reasons. Obviously, unraced, anything could happen. Maybe all at sea coming into the dip and rising into the hill. Might need the run, might lose its race before the start, may get agitated, may sweat up. Who knows? It's a 2-year-old race. They're all unraced, so nothing is ever a shock, and it's one of the reasons why I probably don't go too mad in them. Actually, the only reasons I kind of ever bet on them mainly is if I'm going to the races. Yes, there's that horse there. And I wanted to touch on Blue Flag Flying High. I suppose that report angle to a point lured me into some extent. Michael Bell can ready them. Benoit de la Sayette is turning into a brilliant jockey. The yard are in okay form as well. That did interest me. 4 from 23, 9 places. The Michael Bell yard are ticking along. They can ready horses. They have winners at Newmarket. It was this jockey stat, I suppose. Benoit has been riding well with confidence in the last 14 days. He rides a Newmarket tracks well. Trainer jockey combo interested me. Obviously is attached to John Gosden, but 3 from 8, 5 places in the last year. I suppose I thought it might be significant that Michael Bell has booked Benoit. He was never going to ride the John Thady Gosden horse if Kieran Fallon was free, who is the second jockey to the owners. But of course, given Oisin Murphy's out, his kind of first pick on their horses at the moment. So nothing in that in particular. I thought the breeding was half decent as well. Star Spangled Banner, fourth foal, half brother, 2 7.5 mile winners, including a 2-year-old, another 2-year-old winner here again. So precocious. Yeah, enough of the siblings have been precocious. That's what I was going to say. And enough to win at 2, I should say. And yeah, some of these stats here, kind of 12%. For the sire, decent enough. So at the odds, I thought those two, the jockey booking, some of that breeding, the trainer being in half decent form, does okay with 2-year-olds. But of course, any number of one of these could win. Simon Crisp doesn't do too bad with his 2-year-olds, but again, the yard form last 14 days may be a question there. The market can guide trainer jockey combo, all right, but lots of Simon Crisfords are very strong in the market, so when they're not, especially 2-year-olds, I'm a bit so-so, but I'm saying that that's more kind of feeling instinct and things I've noted than any hard stats. I've touched on the trainer jockey combo there. The Rafe Beckett round. Rafe's does well with his first time out 2-year-olds and at the Newmarket courses, so that is something to judge. I think this is both here and the Rolling Mile, but and I could dig in those stats more, but 8 from 33, 14 places, first time out 2-year-olds at the Newmarket courses, plus 34. I suppose just on that basis, on that stat alone, given the yard are in okay form as well, and the trainer jockey combo do well, that one at 14 to 1. Will I have £2 trackside just in case? Possibly. What tempered enthusiasm, I suppose, was the fact that this one is, well, firstly, is a colt out of Dubai, so decent. 200,000 guineas. They probably want to start getting a return on that at some point, or they want the horse to show some class. Is related to 1 mile 4 to 1 mile 6 horses. 1 mile 2, 1 mile 4. Yeah, the breeding's very good, as you can see there. Will he be speedy enough? That's the question over this 7 furlongs on his first start. I suppose that's what tempered some enthusiasm. Dubawe's ticking along at 23% in these little sire breakdowns here. Flat turf, flat sprint, that's 5 to 7 furlongs, and flat 2-year-olds. So clearly has plenty of 2-year-old winners. So yes, we shall see. The market may guide with a Beckett horse. I suppose of the other ones, having mentioned the Michael Bell and the Jane Chapelheim for the reasons stated, yard form there in particular, the Beckett one at the prices is the other interesting one, especially if those 3 of the big boys, the Godolphin and John Thady Gosden's, are weak in the market. Maybe that one may be worth a little nibble as well, and maybe I probably will. Trackside just for a bit of fun, may pay for around at the bar. Let me try and rattle through some of these other ones. 4 runners here. Oh, you could give a chance to any of the 4 really. There's not much to go on. This is the first handicap of the day. Yeah, not too much here. I suppose, well, there isn't too much to go on. Pace is interesting. There's only four runners. Will they dawdle? Will Kieran Fallon get to dictate up front here? Possibly. That and I started with a Charlie and Mark Johnson horse, and then partly from this pace angle, but then I've talked myself out of him into Law of the Sea at fours. He is going to track. I'm going to assume he's fit. Like I said, the yard form is in great form, as touched on previously. Trainer jockey combo in the last year, 10 from 35, 19 places. He rides a Newmarket, tracks well. He's in form, Benoit. This horse is having his first start in a handicap. He's very lightly raced. That interested me. He showed some decent form. Well, sorry, decent performances, I should say, in novice and maiden races. I suppose the fact it was Kempton and Leicester, don't know whether that's so to his ability. Benoit was on for both. Maybe that interested me as well. That I should say, yeah. Does he get a tune out of this horse? Maybe he rides him at home plenty. Of both those wins were under him. The races haven't in particularly worked out well. Those two, you can see posted 95 RPR in a novice is pretty decent. Then went to Chester in a Group 3. Now that interested me. So this is all last season as a 3-year-old. The fact they pitched him from them into Group 3s and Group 2s, some indication, I think, of how he may have been working or what they thought of him. Chester may well over 12 have been too tight, the ground too soft, possibly. Then he ran at Ascot in this Group 2, last race of the season. Maybe had a problem after that, that would suggest. 9 subsequent winners. He didn't run too badly there. That is a Group 2. And now we're dropping into a Class 2 handicap, which is quite a class drop. He then made his return in March. Now, the yard weren't going great in the early part of the season. He sent off 9-2 in cheek pieces. Didn't run very well. Maybe the fact he's had 131 days off to me suggests there may have been a problem or they found something. This is it. He was gelded before that run in the off season. He now returns. They keep the cheek pieces on. The yard are going much better than they were. Benoit, who gets on well with him, is his first run in the handicap. The fact he was pitched into some good races there makes me think maybe 100. And with Benoit's very good £3 claiming off. There's clearly more to come from him. They're keeping him in training. Obviously, hasn't shown much since his early form as a 3-year-old earlier last season. 4-1, I thought might be decent enough. It's his first run the handicap. It's a drop in class from what he's been running in. There's clearly more to come at some point, unless he has just regressed and the wheels have come off. He was just doing a few things different to some of these others, given that first handicap start. Some of that, the races he's previously been pitched in. The Marco Botti has been running in handicaps, running well enough. First run on proper good to firm ground. I suppose at what was a very short price, that was enough to temper some enthusiasm. It's not a price I would dive in at. And the fact hasn't won on turf yet. Maybe all weather's better. So especially, yeah, first run on good to firm. So if he's good enough, he has been running well into some decent Class 2s, a repeat of which or building on which may simply be good enough. There is an £8 swing. The Charlie and Mark Johnson horse is £8 better off from when they met in this Doncaster race here. Yeah, is £8 better off from that. He keeps going up in the weights without winning. That's the Botti horse. They met here. Charlie Mark Johnson's run a few more times. He will race prominently. Will make all the fact. I suppose I thought he's not doing too much different. He was beat here off 85, is £2 higher. He was beat here at Doncaster off 87, same mark. He is up 2 furlongs more in trip, but he is back into a Class 2. The fact he may dictate, and clearly he's receiving loads of weight as a 3-year-old, and because of the rating from Law of the Sea, that may well tell near the end. I suppose that would be slightly annoying, having changed my mind. I thought the Charlie Mark Johnson horse may well just make all, wind it up and stay there. But yeah, something about Law of the Sea and the class angle, maybe in the first run in the handicap and doing something different. But I fancied this horse here over these two, actually. So what you do with that, I don't think I'll end up backing both. What are the odds as I speak here? Yeah, no surprise there, I suppose. We'll see if I've made the wrong call in changing my mind. But it's a game of decision making, and that's the decision I have made for now. But maybe will I end up batting both, dutching them? That's a bit stupid in a four-runner race. But yeah, he's clearly beatable from this mark, is the point. But maybe, yeah, that massive weight difference will make a big difference. But I don't know, there might be something about Law of the Sea, who maybe have a bit too much class, even from a mark of 100. We shall see. Hopefully, his A1. Lady Rayburn, I really like. Or I'm really intrigued to see what she does over this 7 furlongs. I'm pleased to see a bit of money. I watched that last couple of, well, I watched the two Doncaster runs back, and she travelled well, was outpaced, then stayed on, wasn't beaten far. Some of the form was working out okay. She has won before, so at least she has a winning attitude. And to win as a 2-year-old at Beverley, 5 furlongs soft ground would suggest you're going to get further than 6 in time, to my eyes. She has run well, found for pressure twice on this good to firm ground. It is her first run here, so may like it, may not. But I just thought shaping as if 7 furlongs is well worth a go, is down in class from that last run. Neil Callan gets a first go. For me, possibly a jockey upgrade on Shane Gray. Trainer jockey combo, so since Neil's come back. Obviously, he used to ride for Kevin Ryan a lot back in the day, but he's been used by some other trainers. That was before he went to Hong Kong. He's been riding the Newmarket tracks well since he returned, as you can see there. He's in form. The trainer is going well as well. He has winners here. The breeding, I suppose, always interesting. The dam, yeah, some relations there that won 8 to 10 furlong horses. So in theory, this step up into 7 furlongs may well work well. And just doing something different as a reason for improvement. She still clearly needs to step forward from these recent runs. You look at that and go, why are you going to step forward? Clearly, the opposition may be weaker. She may have been running in races and bumping into some very good horses, which she won't do today. That's obviously form analysis. But then just from the kind of what I can see here, down in class, so, lesser opposition in that sense. Jockey switch and up in distance as a reason for potential improvement. It is that 7 furlongs is the reason. Both those times at Doncaster when she's run on, she's travelled and then ran on as if she does have a little bit in hand. So in theory, we shall see. The pace here is interesting. There aren't any front runners on paper. It is there to be stolen from the front. You may expect a Charlie Mark Johnson horse to do that. And yeah, might just kind of go forward, but maybe Neil Callan will ride this one handy. She travels strongly, so I'm hoping there's no excuse there. But you're not going to have to really stay 7 furlongs because it might not be that strongly run, which may help her as well. So yeah, I thought it was a big ask for the top horse here, the 4-year-old against all these 3-year-olds giving well this way. Dunlop's horse needs to take a step forward. The last few runs have been a bit naff. I didn't realise why. Wondered why he might do so. I couldn't think of a reason. The Michael Bell horse may well be inspired by a first-time visor, but it needs to work after recent form. Jilly Cooper's been well backed, and I'm not 100% sure why. Has been running well. I suppose that has been running well in form, not beaten far. Has won a race, but only one from 13. So has clearly found winning tricky, certainly this season into handicaps. You wouldn't say he's absolutely got loads in hand. The positive is the fact, again, down in class, it is that pace angle. Maybe young Kieran Fallon will get to dictate. We shall see. That trainer jockey combo might be worth noting as well. Kieran Fallon riding for the Johnsons, 4 from 17, 7th place in the last year, not too shabby. He hasn't exactly been firing in the winners in the last kind of 2 weeks and month, but we'll see if that impacts his confidence. But anyway, the Kevin Ryan filly was definitely the one for me. And then we get on to the last race, 3 runners. I'm taking 33 minutes and a card without any runners on it, but there we go. Hopefully I'm saying something of interest. Bergerac and his first blinkers may well just may bomb out. Simple as that. The front two are kind of even money. The pair, I wouldn't have the confidence. What I liked about the Owens horse here, the trainer forms lured me in. 3 from 5, 3 place in the last 2 weeks. They've really hit an up streak. 3 from 11, 7 place with all runners on the Newmarket courses. That caught the eye as well. I'm not too fussed about the 60-day stats. That's just for the last couple of years. I've had a look. He's trained winners off breaks, and he's had some go very close off longer breaks, including this season. So those couple of places, I'm not too worried about that. You've got the report angles here. So the trainer and jockey combo in the last 14 days, 3 from 5. So P. Owens and Louis Stewart, worth noting. In the next few weeks, maybe wouldn't be the biggest yard, but something to keep an eye on. Trainer jockey combo in the last year, so you can see they really have upturned form in the last 2 weeks. What else did I want to touch on? It was more so now the form, and Louis riding well as well. It was the form of the horse. This Ascot run here in September 21 bolted up off only £4 lower. Had a winter, is a bit older. I thought may well actually be better handicapped than these other two horses who have been running well without, well, winning certainly. Bergerac's been finding it hard to get his head in front, but a simple repeat of one of those recent runs may be enough, possibly. That Ascot form I thought was interesting. Then he ran on soft and didn't run very well. Then he returned this season on the all weather, ran okay, but may well have needed it possibly, but the yardwoods certainly weren't as in good form. Then ran well in this Ascot race, travelled really well, then faded late. And it's no surprise maybe he's had a wind up since then, so maybe he was catching his wind. That race has worked out fairly well for the grade. This looks weaker to my eyes, and I thought the wind up, also putting a first visor on, which is interesting. That makes me think he's going to be fit enough because they're trying different things there. Yeah, I thought 11-4 outside of the field probably was worth a bet at the odds trackside. I'm not sure if I'd do it if I was sat at home, but I thought he might offer a bit of value in that context against the other two. The Charlie Hills form possibly enough to put me off. The one horse here, one from 29, 10 places, one from 51 in the last 30 days. So on the yard form there, especially when you're talking about a horse at really short odds. Clearly needs to step forward, but again was in form in June. Can take a hold. I wonder if wants a bigger field, stronger pace, which may not get today. But anyway, the Owens horse was the one for me there. And we shall see how the market speaks, but clearly any one of the three has the ability and has shown the form to take that. So it's just a question of which one and how it may work out tactically. So that is that. 36 minutes for another short video, but hopefully you found it interesting. Some of the ones I fancy have been started to be nibbled at, which is never a bad thing. We shall see. It's the late kind of 15-20 minute money, which normally tells all, but it'll be interesting to see what they do through the day. It'd be interesting if the Beckett horse is nibbled at, given some of the things I said earlier, and if these three remain to be a bit weak-ish, but then Local Dynasty isn't exactly weak at twos. We'll see what the prices are come the start. Have I made the right or wrong decision with this one, changing my mind from the Johnson horse to Law of the Sea? We shall see. No doubt the Botty horse will now hack up, or maybe even Varians. Lady Rayburn, I'm excited to see what she can do over 7 furlongs. If she relishes it, I think she's the one to beat in that race. So we shall see there. So interesting little it is an interesting little card, even though there's hardly any runners. Hopefully I've said something interesting. Hopefully for my own pocket trackside and my own race side enjoyment, I will have backed a winner or two and have something to cheer across the winning line, which always adds to any day out at the races. But then there's the Wombats to look forward to afterwards. So with that said, thanks for watching. Hopefully I've said something useful and that you can use going forward, or makes you ponder, or even for this evening's card. So yes, with that said, this is Josh saying thanks for watching, and until the next time, bye for now.